All right, let's dive in. Today we're looking at Job, chapters 25 to 27.
Oh, these are fascinating.
And we're right in the thick of it with Job and his friends and all this debate about his suffering.
Yeah, it gets pretty intense.
So each friend has their own take on what's happening. And in chapter 25, Bildad steps up.
And Bildad, he tries to offer comfort, but honestly, it comes across a little harsh.
Yeah, it's kind of like tough love.
Exactly. He's saying, Job, you got to look at the bigger picture here.
Right. So what's his main point?
Well, Bildad argues that humans were inherently flawed, especially compared to God, his power, his purity.
Okay, I'm seeing where this is going.
And to really drive home his point, he brings up the moon and the stars, says even they aren't perfect in God's eyes.
So if the celestial bodies aren't good enough, what chance do we have? Maggots and worms, as he puts it.
Yeah, pretty harsh imagery. But it was common back then in ancient Near Eastern thought. Humans were seen as pretty insignificant compared to the vastness of the cosmos.
But Job's not one to just sit back and take it, right?
Yeah. Oh, no, not at all. In chapter 26, he comes back swinging.
And it's not a gentle rebuttal.
No, he's pretty sarcastic, pointing out how weak Bildad's argument is.
Yeah, I can almost hear the, oh, thanks for the comfort, Bildad, dripping with sarcasm.
Totally. But then Job takes this really interesting turn.
This is where it gets good. He goes from attacking Bildad to describing God's power.
And it's almost like he's trying to one-up Bildad.
Like, oh yeah, you think stars are impressive? Well, let me tell you about God's control over the departed spirits, Sheol, even Abaddon.
Wow, those are some heavy hitters.
Right. And think about what these concepts meant back then.
Sheol, the realm of the dead, wasn't just a peaceful place. It was often seen as dark, fearsome.
So Job's saying, not only are the stars not perfect, but God controls the very forces of death and chaos.
And then he goes even further, describes God stretching out the north over empty space, hanging the earth on nothing.
Mind-blowing. Especially considering the cosmology of their time.
Right. Did they even believe in nothing? This almost sounds like he's foreshadowing our modern understanding of the universe.
It really makes you think. But why do you think Job does this? It's more than just showing off his poetic skills.
I think it's deeper than that. It's a challenge, maybe? A desperate attempt to make sense of his suffering in the face of such immense power.
Exactly. And it's not just about what he's saying, but why he's saying it.
And remember, all this is happening while he's in the middle of unimaginable pain and grief.
So after this cosmic tour, where does Job go next? Does he keep questioning God's focus on humans?
Well, in chapter 27, things shift again. He goes from questioning God to defending himself, his own integrity.
So even after everything, he still believes he's done nothing wrong.
Absolutely. And it raises this question. What does it mean to stay true to yourself even when things are falling apart?
That's a question that resonates through history, across cultures.
It's this basic human need to find meaning, even when life is hard.
Yeah. Okay, so we've seen Job dismiss Bildad, describe God's power, and now defend his own integrity. What's next?
Well, from asserting his own righteousness, Job then turns to a starkly different topic, the fate of the wicked. And this is really intriguing because we see what seems like a contradiction in his thinking.
So he believes he's innocent and is struggling with why he's suffering, but he seems equally convinced that those who are wicked will face justice.
You got it. And that tension, that seeming contradiction, that's at the heart of what Job's wrestling with.
How can he reconcile his own experience with his belief in a just God?
That's the big question, and it's puzzled people for centuries.
It's like he's holding two opposing truths at once.
And maybe that's it. Maybe life isn't about easy answers. Maybe it's about wrestling with those big questions.
And that's what makes this deep dive so engaging.
Forcing us to think critically and find the deeper meaning.
So we're left with this question. How does Job reconcile his suffering with a just God?
That's the question hanging over everything, and it's a question that'll stay with us as we move forward.
So keep that in mind as we keep exploring Job's words and searching for meaning.
Job's description of what happens to the wicked, it's really chilling.
Yeah, he doesn't hold back.
One image that really sticks out is when he compares their prosperity to, like, a spider's web or a watchman's hut.
It's such a powerful metaphor. All that wealth and power, as fragile as a spider web.
And Job doesn't stop there. He talks about the emotional torment, their families suffering, their descendants going hungry, their widows not even able to weep.
Yeah, that image of the widows is really haunting. No comfort, even in death.
And there's this other line, it's so striking. He lies down rich, but never again. He opens his eyes, and it no longer exists.
Like poof, it's gone. Don't be fooled by appearances. True wealth is in righteousness.
That's a great point. It seems like even in his pain, Job believes in this moral order, this cosmic justice.
But wait, isn't there some kind of contradiction here? He's questioning why he's suffering, but he's so sure about the fate of the wicked.
That's the million-dollar question, right? It's puzzled people for centuries.
Is it that Job is struggling with his own experience versus his faith in God?
Maybe. He sees injustice, but he can't let go of the idea that there's a higher purpose.
Like holding on to two conflicting truths.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that Job's views are also influenced by the beliefs of his time.
So it's not just personal, it reflects his society's worldview too.
Right. Divine retribution was a huge theme back then. God punishing the wicked.
Makes you think how our own culture shapes our sense of justice.
Absolutely. And then Job takes it even further, comparing the wicked to someone running from a storm.
They try to escape, but everyone just mocks them.
Clap their hands at him and whistle at him from their places.
Ouch, no escaping the consequences, no dignity.
This public shaming, its powerful imagery, it plays on our fear of being rejected by our community.
Like their actions don't just harm them, they create this ripple effect.
And it's fascinating how Job, even while suffering, believes in this system of justice, both divine and social.
Like he's saying, I might be going through hell, but I still believe in order. Actions have consequences.
A powerful message, especially from someone who's lost so much.
So we've talked about the wicked's fate, their fleeting wealth, their torment, the shaming. But what about Job's own suffering? How does he reconcile that with a just God?
That question lingers over this whole section. And it'll keep challenging us as we go deeper into Job's story.
So as we move to the last part of our deep dive, hold on to that question. We've really been digging into some tough stuff. Job's words about what happens to the wicked, they're pretty intense.
Yeah, almost disturbing. But I think what's really interesting is how it all connects back to Job's own struggle.
Right. Like it's this tug of war he's going through. On one hand, there's all this suffering that just seems so unfair.
And on the other hand, he's so convinced that God is just and the wicked will eventually get what they deserve.
And that tension, it's something we can all relate to, even today.
Absolutely. Those moments when life just doesn't make sense, when our faith is tested.
Exactly. And Job, he doesn't just sit there and take it. He grapples with those big questions. He challenges his friends.
He even questions God himself.
Which, let's be honest, took a lot of courage back then.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. He was pushing boundaries, really digging deep for truth, even if it was uncomfortable.
And that's a good lesson for us, isn't it? It's okay to question things, to have doubts.
It's in that wrestling that we really grow and come to understand ourselves,
It's not about finding easy answers. It's about embracing the mystery.
Yeah, Job reminds us that faith isn't just blind acceptance. It's about this conversation, this dialogue with God and the world.
So going back to that question we had, how does Job reconcile his suffering with a just God?
Maybe there isn't a simple answer. Maybe it's about living with that tension.
Accepting the paradox, the mystery.
I think Job's story isn't so much about giving us answers, but inviting us to question and search alongside him.
It's a journey, right? Not about the destination, but what we learn along the way.
And remember, Job's story doesn't end here.
These chapters are just a glimpse.
There's so much more to uncover.
So if you're intrigued, I encourage you to keep exploring the book of Job.
It's a powerful story, one that still resonates today.
Well, on that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive into chapters 25 through 27. Thanks for joining us on this exploration of faith and suffering.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep questioning, keep searching, and keep diving deep.
Welcome to Charlie and Mia's podcast. We're embarking on an exciting journey to read through the entire Bible in just 1 year. Every day, we dive into Scripture, exploring its meanings and how it applies to our lives today. We invite you to join us on this incredible adventure of learning and discovery. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you never miss an episode.